What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you the return of ABC. That's right, so ABC's technically got a bit of support in the form of Revolution Synchron. Now what that does is it actually allows the deck to utilize the ability to get into Ancient Fairy Dragon, which has now had an errata and is now back in the fold. I'm also going to show you a 2-card combo at the end of the video as well, so you can see how this deck now operates with the addition of Revolution Synchron. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. So we start off with the pieces, so we're going to be playing 2 A's, 2 B's and 2 C's. If you wanted to bump any of them up, I would personally be considering bumping B up as it is the most important one. Not only is it, when it's sent to the grave effect, trigger the best, but also the ability of being able to, like this is the one you go to off of the field spell, this is the one you start off with, and then you want to be equipped in ideally the Brick of Union Driver. Now this is both one of the best cards, one of the worst cards. It's the worst if you draw it, it's the best if you don't. So obviously Union Driver gives that ability that when you equipped it using a card like Union Hanger is going to search you out B. B is then going to be normal summoned. Union Hanger will then equip the Union Driver from the deck. You can then banish the Union Driver to special summon out A or C, whichever piece you might need. And that's where Revolution Synchron comes into play, because then you get the ability of using A to summon itself out. You've got an instant link 2 or a rank 4 access if you need to, but with Revolution Synchron you can then go into something like a Ancient Fairy Dragon. You can get a new field spell, which can be your Furion This Colosseum, which can set you up an Omni Negate, and then you've got the ability to normal summon or special summon out C. So you're getting all of your pieces very consistently, very early, and being able to set up a board of stuff like a Crystal Wing, plus a Furion King Regulus, and an ABC Buster Dragon. So you'll see all of that in the end of the video, but it's just insanely powerful how this deck goes up a level thanks to Revolution Synchron. So speaking of Revolution Synchron, yes, I would be playing free if I had free. Unfortunately, I only own 2 copies at the moment. The price of this card keeps fluctuating. So I think initially there were some, if you were lucky on pre-orders, that kind of hit around the 35 mark after a little bit, but then it started to go up to 40, then 45, then 50, then it dropped back down to 40, and now it's coming back up to 50. So I was lucky to sneak in at these and get them around the 40 mark, and I'm not prepared to get the third yet, because ultimately the third will only go into something like ABC. I'm not the particular fan of it in the Manadiums, but we're going to see how it goes. So in place of playing the Rev Synchron, you would already be playing Tune-In anyway, but there are some builds that play 2 and then 3 Rev, so I've had to go on the other side of it, and I'm going to be playing 3 Tune-In and 2 Rev. If you have 3 Rev, by all means go with 3 of the monster, just because it gives you that little bit more. But even then, Tune-In is still incredibly powerful because it searches you out your Rev, while also milling a card. Now obviously you're trying to mill 6 cards from a deck of 40, so it's going to be very, very low, but if you do hit a piece, happy days. And then of course we've got 2 Furion King Regulus, and to get to it we've got 2 Furion This Colosseum. Now the reason Regulus is so good in this deck is because when it equips an A, B or C from the graveyard, you can then use the A, B or C effect to unequip it and summon it to the board. So then straight away you're able to recycle the usage of that card. You can then use it as Synchron material if you want to, you can use it as XYZ material, as long as you can get it to the graveyard. Or heck, even if you don't get it to the graveyard, you can still then banish it to make the ABC Buster Dragon, and you've made sure you've got yourself a negate on the form of Regulus. Moving on to the hand traps. So for the hand traps, I'm playing triple Ash Blossom, triple Imperm, and double Nibiru. Now you adapt the hand traps according to your local environment. And what I mean by that is, if your local environment, everyone is playing decks that lose to Droll, and Droll is going to be as consistent as ever in the deck, then you can be playing it. If you go to a local environment where Ghost Ogre is king, then of course you'll put Ghost Ogre in the deck as well. It's one of the ones where you need to adapt. If you go to a locals where everyone plays under Nib and Nib is completely useless, get rid of it. If you're going to a locals where they're only playing Vanquish Souls and they're constantly dodging your targeted negates in the form of Imperms and Veilers, get rid of it. So that's where you kind of use this kind of area of 8 slots to be adaptive to as whether you want more board breaker cards, whether you want cards like Triple Tactics Frost in there, and however you want to adapt to your environment. I'm then playing triple unauthorized reactivation. Now again, you can cut this completely, you can play it too. This is just one of those fallback safety options should your Union Hanger get stopped. So this just gives you another consistent way of being able to complete the combo if your Hanger gets stopped or you don't see Hanger. Now it's very difficult to not see Hanger in this deck because you are playing so many different ways to get to it, but sometimes it does happen, so you need to have contingencies, and this is one of them ones, or one of the ways to do so. We've then got Pot of Prosperity, so again, another consistency card, being able to dig to a route to Rev Synchron. And as you've already seen, we've got 5 ways to Rev Synchron in the deck. And then, of course, you've got 4 ways, technically 5 ways to get to your Union Hangar as well in the main deck. So now you can basically add 3 more to that. I'm also main decking 2 Forbidden Droplet. The reason I'm playing Forbidden Droplet right now is not only is it good for the deck as well, because it can send you the pieces, get them out of your hand to the board and negate your opponent's board, but it's just that ability that apart from Cashteras, a lot of decks can really struggle against Droplet. And yes, Dark Ruler No More is great and it's probably going to be a better option if you're guaranteed to go second, but you're never guaranteed to do anything in Yu-Gi-Oh! So being able to play a card like Forbidden Droplet can be very important. Like, if your opponent was to go Dark Ruler No More, especially with this build and the way that it works, your board will pretty much crumble because you've got ABC, you've then got, like, if you end on an IP as well, you'll have ABC, Crystal Wing, Regulus, and then ABC, and they just go Dark Ruler Evening. You're like, ah. So that's where something like Droplet could actually come into play. Obviously not in that Dark Ruler Evenly kind of scenario because they can still just wipe your entire board out, but it still gives you that ability to play around with it. Not to mention that if you do tag out the ABC Buster Dragon, again, IP is going to give you materials to link off with, but if you tag out with Buster Dragon and then complete your board or fill your board up with A, B, and C, you've then got recursion plays to go off of for the next turn because you can activate Forbidden Droplet, send 3 monsters without even really worrying, and then regain the resource off of the ABC pieces and everything else you need to. Then for the one-offs, so the one-off power play spells, we've got the 1 Call By, the 1 Foolish, the 1 Set Rotation, Terraforming, and the 1 Triple Tack. Now, one thing you could very easily put in this deck if you really, really wanted to is Crossout Designator. Because there is a bit of space and flexibility to play around with it, what you would ultimately do is you'd lean more into protecting your board. So that's where your side deck can come in, because what you've got to remember is Crossout Designator can also call Evenly Matched, and it can also call Dark Ruler No More. So if you're finding that when you're testing this or when you're playing this at your local environment, they are constantly blowing you out with stuff like Dark Ruler, stuff like Evenly, then of course you can play Crossout and then counter their cards as well, which is what makes it a really kind of cool synergy of the deck and what makes it work really, really nicely. And there is the space to do so. So like in all the hand traps that I showed you, the 8 spaces, you could very easily cut nib down to 1 if you're fearful of that. You could then add in at least 1, if not 2 draws, and then you've got space for your Evenlies, your Dark Rulers, the board breakers in general. So that's it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, of course, we are going with 3 of the Mac Daddy ABC Dragon Buster. This card is absolutely insane, incredibly powerful. I would say that it's probably been slightly power crept, not doing exactly what it does, but the ability to discard and then target and banish any card is really, really cool. And then the ability that during your opponent's turn you get to tag it out to bring back your theme materials is really cool. So it gives you that ability to gain more resource back on the board and constantly keep looping it around, which is really awesome. For the Synchros, we are playing the 1 Crystal Wing, the 1 Black Rose Dragon, and the 1 Ancient Fairy Dragon. So the Ancient Fairy is the one you're going to want to go to more times than not. Yes, you cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate its effect to special from the hand, but the idea is you're going to be doing this turn 1. It's going to allow you to swap out your field spells depending on what you need to go to. It's also going to give you the ability to gain 1,000 life points, so it is a very nice time con option. Not that you should be getting to time as much with this. You've then obviously got Crystal Wing that can be summoned because you make Ancient Fairy Dragon with Rev Dragon and then any of the A, B or C pieces. And then you bring Rev Dragon back and then synchro into Crystal Wing, giving you a very nice powerful boss monster that can negate monster effects. You've got Black Rose as a way to nuke the board. It's not something you absolutely have to play. It's definitely something that you can change up. But again, it's just one of them ones where you could technically go Dark Ruler No More and then make your Black Rose. Black Rose nukes the entire board, resets the state. You're still going to get the A, B or C piece to trigger off, and then you're able to extend that little bit further. We've then got for the links, you've got the Platinum Gadget, the Nightmare Phoenix, the Sky Striker Ace. Now the reason I've gone with the Sky Striker Ace is I just think it's a very nice spot removal. So it requires 2 light and or dark monsters, so obviously all the pieces are lights and or darks, technically, all lights. So, it must be linked summoned, and you can special summon a Sky Striker Ace once per turn. If this card is special summoned, you target 1 card on the field and destroy it. Then if you have 3 or less spell cards in your graveyard, you send this card to the graveyard. Once per turn at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can banish 1 spell from the graveyard to destroy that opponent's monster. Now what's really kind of cool about this is technically you can actually link summon this off using IP Masquerena and one of the pieces you bring back. So if you don't want to go into something like a Nightmare Unicorn off the back of an IP, you could actually go into Sky Striker. So if you're like, I don't want to bounce it, I actually just want to destroy it, then you can go into the Sky Striker Ace instead. And then it kind of gives you one of the ones that if your opponent doesn't read this and they try and attack it, you just go, okay, cool, battle, destroy it, and you're good to rock and roll. So obviously IP, Unicorn, Appaloosa, access code. Yes, I did deliberately make them all gold, just so you can kind of see the I quite like the gold. A lot of people don't, but I quite like it. And then of course we've got the one Underworld Goddess, and then the last one is your failsafe Baguska. Now the best thing about the extra deck is, again, it's very flexible. You can choose not to play Black Rose, you can go for a Zeus line, you can also go down the Merrymaker into Sargus route as well. You've got loads of flexibility, and that's where Pot of Prosperity kind of comes into play. There's ones where it's like, right, okay, well I'm going to build the strongest board I need to. I'm going to be going first. I don't need Black Rose. I don't need Platinum. I don't need all three of my ABCs. Take the bit of the risk, dig your deck into what you need to, and then control the board state. I mean, at the end of the day, unless your opponent does open up the best board breakers in the game to deal with a Regulus, a Buster Dragon, plus your Crystal Wing, you're pretty much going to win the duel the next turn, because you would then obviously use Buster Dragon, discard a card, banish a card, tag the Buster Dragon out, go into A, B, and C pieces again, and then you trigger the field spell of Union Hanger to equip a monster, and then the next turn you're just going to flood the board and be able to go again. So that's it for the extra deck. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset the board state, and I'm going to show you a very, very kind of cool and basic 2-card combo for the deck, utilizing the core components of it. So this is the 2-card combo, very direct routes to your core components. Obviously, you've got 5 routes to Rev Synchron, 8 if you include Pot of Prosperity, and then of course you've got 5 routes to Union Hanger, and again 8 if you include Prosperity. So you're going to start off by activating your Union Hanger. Union Hanger is going to allow you to add B Buster Drake. You then normal summon down your B, that will then trigger Union Hanger to equip it with Union Driver. You then use Driver's effect to banish it to equip another Union from the deck, being a Assault Core. You then use a Assault Core's effect to summon itself out into the monster zone. You now use the ability of Rev Synchron to synchro with the field from the hand with your B Buster Drake, because that will give you the most advantage going forward. So you're going to go into Ancient Fairy Dragon. This will trigger B to allow you to add your Crush Wyvern. Very, very nice. And now you're currently on 3 summons. So what you're going to want to do first, you're going to want to activate Ancient Fairy Dragon to destroy the field spells to get you your Disc Colosseum first. You're going to activate the Disc Colosseum, and this is going to search you out your Theon King Regulus. Now, obviously, we still want to use Ancient Fairy Dragon's effect to summon down the Crush Wyvern, which would be our 4th summon, and then you want to use the effect of Rev Synchron in the graveyard, which would be your 5th summon before you can get an Omni Negate to the board. So, this is where you now want to activate the Theon King Regulus effect, targeting the B to equip it to it. Now, the best thing about this is you can now use B's effect to unequip itself and summon itself to the board. So I'm just going to move the field spell out of the way, as it is now slightly irrelevant. So now you've got the B to the board, you've got the negate for something like a Nibiru with your Regulus. You now want to use Ancient Fairy Dragon's effect to allow you to normal summon the Crush Wyvern, because you want to be able to do that before you then try and bring back the Rev. Because if you bring back the Rev, you're not going to be able to get the additional special summon off of the back of your Ancient Fairy Dragon. So at this point now, it's entirely up to you, but you kind of want to conduct a Link Summon first before you move into a sync, because you're going to need to make up some space. Otherwise, you'd put Ancient Fairy Dragon in the extra monster zone. So it really does come down to placement and how you want to do it. It doesn't make much of a difference how you choose to do it. The one thing that will make a difference is making sure you're using the right cards to link off. And what I mean by that is, with the Link Summon, you're going to want to use your A and your B to go into something like a Platinum Gadget. Now, the reason you want to use your A and your B first is because if you use C, unless you've got a legal target in the hand, you can't actually go anywhere. So off the back of this, you'll then be able to trigger B, and you'll be able to trigger A. A will add B back to the hand, and then B will then allow you to search out an A or a C or any other piece you really, really want to. Now, don't worry, we will be getting those to the board at some point as well. Now you're going to bring back your Rev Synchron. You're then going to sync your Rev Synchron, making sure you mill 1 card as well with your Ancient Fairy Dragon to get you into your Crystal Wing. So now you are pretty much protected, which is really, really nice. And then the next step is you want to make sure you bring down the 1 piece you're missing from the graveyard. Now, the piece you're missing from the graveyard at the moment is B, so you want to make sure you special the B off of the Platinum Gadget, otherwise you will mess yourself over a little bit. Then what you want to do is you want to link your B with your C, and this will then allow you to go into IP Masquerena. Now, in doing so, again, you can trigger B, and you can now legally trigger the A if you want to. The C if you want to. So the idea off of the back of that would be that you can then add any other piece you want to off of the back of the B. So let's go and add ourselves a C for follow-up. You can now trigger C to summon down the A if you want to. The only benefit of putting the A on the board is it gives you another material that you can use, but you are filling up your board, so ultimately I would probably hold this back just so you've got more plays the next turn. So as this currently stands, what you're then going to want to do is you're going to want to banish from the graveyard your B, C, and your A. And this is going to give you your guaranteed Buster Dragon, and off the back of that as well, you've definitely got discards in your hand in order to trigger to banish. Now what you're going to want to do is during the main phase, this is just to protect you at the least, or at the most, is you would then use IP plus Platinum Gadget and go into an Appaloosa. Now you don't have to do this, you can very easily keep it open, but the reason you do that is you're clearing out some space as well, because otherwise you cannot activate your A, B, and C as well. So it's very, very kind of space awareness in that sense, but being able to kind of trigger everything you need to, and then kind of go from there is very, very important. So at the moment, you've got 2 monster negates, you've then got an effect negate, you've also got another monster negate there, and you've got a banish. You've got a very powerful board, you've got 2 cards in your hand already, plus you'll also have the original 3 that you would have started with, whether they be Ashes, Imperms, or more forms of interruption as well. So that's it for the combo, very, very basic. If you want to see more in-depth combos and all of the other combos that this deck can do, then make sure you smash that like button. Getting it above 50 likes in the first 24 hours will unlock that for you. But for now, as absolutely always, thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.